Hello, hello, and welcome to Technology Today, powered by ohmtown.com. Today is May 26th, 2024. This is Season 1, Episode 14. I am Mayor Watt. And above me is...
I am the sentient AI. Good evening.
Yeah, I had to mute you. And today we're going to be talking about the secret ingredient of life, a Viper rover from NASA. TSMC can remotely kill its fabs. AI has a breast cancer blind spot. Portland cement recycling, new steel for EV markets. Discovered key to early cancer detection. 6 pioneering space technologies, magnetic fingerprints, and web breaks through atmosphere. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen of ohmtown.com, and you can subscribe to your own news feed. You can hide and save articles. You can create lists and share them with friends and family or yourself. And you can post comments on the site at ohmtown.com, or you can join us over at Discord. There's a Discord for every single one of the shows and the channels. We have 7 weekly. Well, we have 7 shows, 6 of which are weekly. 1 is daily. There's the podcast YouTube channel. Just do a search for ohmtown. You'll find us. Other than that, all of it is powered by ohmtown. So, welcome to Technology Today. We do a deeper dive into technology, science and technology, and society. STS is what it's referred to as. It used to be business, technology, and society, but we've expanded that kind of operation, which is actually more acceptable because business is a science, and there are many other sciences out there, and so it's all cataloged under STS now. If you come over to twitch.tv/ohmtown, you can type in ! shownouts. Man, I don't know what's going on.
You've developed an accent.
Yeah. So if you type in ! show notes, it'll give you a list of all of the commands that are going to be necessary for you to pull. Something just happened. Show notes for each of the shows that we actually have. So if you want to see the show notes for Technology Today, you just type in ! TT, and that'll give you a link to each one of the articles that we're going to be talking about today. I gave you our headlines for it, our segment titles, but the real headlines are at ohmtown.com and on the sources pages themselves. So let's go over to the very first article, which is in Technology Today. Life's secret ingredient, USC scientists discovered new rule of biology. USC Dornsife. What?
I wonder when the last time they've discovered a rule of biology.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I just reading this snippet kind of screams no shit news at 8:08. USC Dornsife, I guess. Molecular biologist John Tower suggests that while living things generally prefer stability to conserve energy and resources, instability may also play a crucial role. Why do I feel like this is akin to that police officer walking up to me and saying, "What does your license plate mean?
What does this word mean to you?"
To me, it means that you don't know what that means, officer. Anyway, the article is over at scitechdaily.com. It's by the University of Southern California. Where do you think the shows up in this? Is it University of the Southern California or University of Southern
be better.
the California? Or is it bookended? The University of Southern California, the.
There we go. That is definitely the best iteration.
I'm sorry, folks. We're silly. So, what do you think? The rule of biology, sometimes called a biological law, describes a recognized pattern or truism among living organisms. Allen's rule, for example, states that among warm-blooded animals, those found in colder areas have shorter, thicker limbs to conserve body heat than those in hotter regions, which need more body surface area to dissipate heat. So zoologist Joel Allen formulated this idea in 1877, and though he wasn't the first or the last to present a rule of biology, his is one of just a handful to gain acceptance among scientists. I have a rule that no matter what you do, if in the progress of a video you pause it, whoever is on screen looks like a complete derp. Yeah, pretty much. Unless they pose, like bam, they're going to look like a complete idiot. There's a couple other, I guess it's a biological law, but we'll wait. We'll let the show just go on for a little bit.
Maybe we can come out with Mayor Watt's biological law.
Biological.
Yeah. Exactly, that too.
There's a mayoral law here that as the night progresses, we lose our
we get progressively silly.
We lose our cognitive faculties, and we go, oh, please let lightning strike, please let lightning strike. Power, go out quick, power, go out. So life may require instability. Tower's rule challenges long-held notions that most living organisms prefer stability over instability because stability requires less energy and fewer resources. For instance, hexagons appear frequently in nature. Think honeycombs and insect eyes because they are stable and require the least amount of material to cover a surface.
Hexagons are the bestagons.
Hexagons are the bestagons. In fact, no, I can't say that on the air. Tower centers his rule on instability, specifically a concept called selectively advantageous instability, or SAI, in which some volatility in biological components, such as proteins and genetic material, provides an advantage to cells. Okay. So Tower believes SAI is a fundamental part of biology. Even the simplest cells contain proteases, and nucleases. Proteases and nucleases, and regularly degrade and replace their proteins and RNAs, indicating that SAI is essential for life. But they degrade because of a biological function, not because they're seeking chaos. They're not seeking instability.
Right. It's not like the inverse of that other experiment where those items were all seeking to get in tune with each other.
Yeah, and
I can't think of what it was, but yes.
Shorter legs versus longer legs, there's a goal. There's a survival goal. This is actually a biological failing that is actually endemic of life. Your cells have to die. Otherwise, if you keep on creating new cells, that's called cancer.
Well, absolutely. I would say it's not a failing, right? I mean, it's a normal part of the process.
Yeah,
but I get that, yes, those individual cells are failing.
Yeah, the biological function is for the cell to die, to fail, and a new cell is generated to take its place. So as cells go about their business, building and degrading various unstable components, he explains, they will exist in one of two states. One state with an unstable component present and one state in which the unstable component is absent. Natural selection may act differently on the two cell states. This can favor the maintenance of both a normal gene and a gene mutation in the same cell population. If the normal gene is favorable in one cell state, the gene mutation is favorable in the other cell state. That's not necessarily true. allowing the genetic diversity can make cells and organisms more adaptable. If it's in if it's part of the survival process, yeah. I guess SAI may be the root of aging. Selectively advantageous instability may also contribute to aging. Creating then replacing the unstable components within cells comes at the cost of materials and energy. Breaking it down may also require additional energy. I don't know if this is like a chicken before the egg kind of a thing or not. That's what it kind of speaks of, because the instability of cells is because the cell biologically is no longer stable. But it's not seeking instability. It's becoming unstable because the energy required to maintain its stability is structurally falling apart.
Right, or things like the cell wall are breaking down or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, in addition to evolution and aging, SAI has other far reaching implications. Oh my gosh, I am so right about this. It says science has been fascinated lately with the concepts such as chaos theory, criticality, Turing patterns, and cellular consciousness. It says Tower research in the field suggests that SAI plays an important role in producing each of these phenomena. No, they're a matter of biological failing, not seeking instability. They'll trend towards chaos, but that's exactly what entropy is. That's what chaos is. Huh. I don't know. I guess they're nailing down the jello that is whatever concept is ultimately death, right? We all
Right.
die, everything dies. Um, but I don't quite get it. Selectively advantageous. The reference here is a paper in Frontiers in Aging. Oh, and that's exactly what it's talking about. Frontiers in Aging. It's a journal about death. And that's what I just got done saying. It's a natural
Exactly.
function of dying.
Were you
Our
on this research project?
no. Selectively advantageous instability in biotic and prebiotic systems and implications for evolution and aging, by John Tower. No, at one point in my life, I wanted to do like a biological science, psychology, and stuff like that, but I got into tech and forgot how to draw, forgot how to do anything organic. All I know is that I was typing
If it doesn't involve a computer.
in my prime, I was typing 140 words a minute instead of doing fundamental research. Anyway, this is a neat article. I think everybody should go and check it out. But just know that this is somebody's belief that they've discovered a rule in biology. But it's a well-known concept that everything trends towards chaos. Like it falls apart. It biologically everything dies eventually, and that eventually everything is stable. But our cells are slowly dying, and then getting replaced, and eventually our biological functions cease. But that isn't because it's aspiring to be in a state of instability. It's that the energy needed to be stable is no longer an option, and so the instability grows till the cell dies. And then that is what I would say counters this. So the rule of biology is really that you are trending towards chaos, until there's no energy left, and then you are stasis, stable, nothing. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. NASA's Viper rover braces for ultimate space challenge. The Viper team is not only building the rover for the moon's south pole, but also preparing for its environmental tests. And these tests are designed to facilitate its ability to survive on the moon, and deal with the aliens that are driving the moon around. Dan Andrews from NASA put this article together, and it's posted over at scitechdaily.com. This is a render, obviously. Right?
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, it's an artist concept of the completed design. It looks like like an old school tank. Or, you know what?
Yes.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
like maybe
a box on wheels.
a little bot from like an older show or movie.
Yeah, beep 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 beep. Um, hold on a second. Okay, so while NASA's Volatiles investigating polar exploration rover, they tried real hard to get Viper
What is
in
it
there.
with the science stuff? Is it like we gotta get a good name so
We
we can
gotta,
get
yeah,
people behind the project?
that's it. It's got to be flashy, baby. Um, the team has also been making preparations for environmental testing of the rover. In April, the Viper team passed a system test readiness review. They should probably put it on that Boeing space capsule thing to see if they can get, maybe the Viper team can get that thing to pass. But it,
Well, yeah, there you go.
um, but they're going to have to scrape away the bondo that's holding it together. Anyway,
And they might have to bring some extra bolts.
yeah. So these environmental tests are important because they force our rover to experience the conditions that it'll experience during launch, landing, and the thermal environment of operating at the lunar South Pole. Specifically, acoustic testing will simulate the harsh vibrational rock concert experience of launch. Yeah! While thermal vacuum testing will expose Viper to the hottest and coldest temperatures it will see during the mission, much like when I was at that one rock concert. I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, I had to buy that person a new hat. Anyway, all while operating in the vacuum of space. It's a tough business, but we have to make sure we're up for it. This wasn't a quote. This wasn't in quotes. So I suspect
No,
it's
but it must be
because
written by the team, right?
it must
Yeah.
be. So that person, Dan Andrews, must be on this team. Pretty fascinating. Oh, and that's it. Yeah, it's the Viper
Oh,
project
he's the
manager.
project manager.
Scroll
I
down
didn't
a
even pick
little.
up on that.
Scroll down a little, Marawatt. Yeah. Anyway, pretty neat. So yeah, they test this stuff actually in like a little simulation of it to make sure that it is, I guess, roadworthy. It's interesting though. Compare that to the fact that they've sent up like the telescope, and then ice forms on the glass, um, and they go, "Oh yeah, we knew that that happens because no matter what you do, we can't eliminate Earth's moisture from the
Right.
the device," and then they have to go up and squeegee it off. What? Yeah.
How would you like that to be on your resume? Like the I'm the squeegeer for the
Yeah.
Viper rover or whatever.
There's a person in there. I'm cold. The radio back is like, I'm cold. Let's keep going. Next article is over on the Warcrafters channel. The world's largest chipmaker could flip a kill switch and remotely disable its machines in the event of an invasion. I think we talked about this earlier this week. And this is about TSMC, the world's largest chipmaker. The article is from PCGamer.com, and they have this great article about this. It says that's one hell of a kill switch. Jacob Ridley is the author. And I think that these are these little silicon platters on which chips are formed. Pretty neat. They have this massive fab system, and it's kind of an all-in-one operation now. And they've built some in the United States as a part, in part, to bolster the idea that they'll still have fabbing operations within a friendly country should China take over. And there is aspirations to take over Taiwan, citing the historical record that it's part of China and it doesn't have autonomy forever. And if you really start looking into it, you find out that there's like police force and stuff like that in place, and operations are out in the South China Sea, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, without getting into it, TSMC has made it possible in collaboration with the Dutch company ASML. I guess everybody is an acronym, IMMW. The AI is AI. Oh my
I
gosh.
I am AI.
I am a. Oh my gosh. I am a. I'm an AML. Um, or IML. IML. Animal. That's what we're gonna call you now. How about that? Animal. No. Well, anyway, the switch applies to the latest EUV machines out of ASML over at the HQ of TSMC. These are some of the most complicated, expensive, and sizable chip making machines around today. Pause. Close. The machines themselves have taken years to develop and even longer to actually implement, though are now responsible for producing the most intricate and powerful computer chips today. Pretty neat. And that's the beast.
I mean, I
So,
think everybody should have one of those like in their house.
sure. Actually, I wanted to get Cheyenne, but that
Oh
supercomputer,
yes, that was neat.
I have enough power to probably run one of the racks in the lab, but that's about it. Yeah, that would be a beast. Although, oh my gosh, that would have been amazing if the timing would have been different. Maybe I could have gotten that for the project. That would have been amazing. So, concerns over Taiwan's national security are what have ultimately led to increased spending in chip making facilities in the US and Europe. The CHIPS Act in the US has agreed to pay huge sums to today's largest chip making companies, including TSMC, Intel, and Samsung, in order to attract fab facilities to be built, maintained, and expanded on US soil, and it seems to be working too. So, about 15 years ago, maybe longer than that now, I really don't recall, I introduced a term called repatriasourcing, which was bringing back fabrication that has been historically outsourced for the longest time because of instability in the world. I introduced this in a paper that I wrote, and I find it really fascinating that at the time, the professor that read it was like, "What?" And my explanation was one kind of poo-pooed away that no, come on now. And look where we are. We're on the cusp of
I
this.
think we're exactly there.
Yeah, yeah. I also predicted exactly what Microsoft was going to do with their store and all of their processes and mobile apps and stuff like that, and that it wasn't going to succeed, and a bunch of other stuff. And I find it really fascinating that I'm on the right track. My only problem is my voice isn't loud enough, and I'm not sitting there running around hyping all of my stuff up. Now I am, because I see it actually happening, and I go, oh, okay. But this is probably the best case scenario, which is if something happens in Taiwan, then there is external fab that can continue to operate within the United States and or Europe if they fab over there. I don't know of any of their fabs in Europe, but I think it's fundamentally important because the research and development isn't only theirs, right? We have technical sophistication, we have the tools, we have the capabilities to operate this and maintain and expand. We have the space, we have the financial independence, and we're not really beholden to anybody. Nobody's going to come and knock on our door, not unless they're looking for trouble, and then they're going to be met.
Right. Well, and of course, then we're funding a lot of these efforts too, right? Like the
Correct.
CHIPS Act.
Yep. And so I can imagine that if all hell breaks loose and Taiwan really is, then we're going to be getting an influx of a lot of people that are going to be their version of expats coming to us, immigration versus emigration. They're going to emigrate to us or immigrate to us and emigrate. So yeah, this is, I think that it's essential that we facilitate this, because if TSMC shuts down, Intel is going to be hobbled as well, because everybody is basically learning about everybody else's operations. Everything evolves. We stand on the shoulders of giants and we get better, superior chips. I still think that this is nothing more than a step in a known evolution. So they already know 20 years down the line how to get from here to there. The rest is fundamental research that's leading to the next 20 years of evolution of this chip fab processing stuff. So I'm not
Well,
worried
that's
about the
true.
next 20
This
years.
is not suddenly envisioned, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is, this is this year's device. They still have 20 years left of stuff they already know they're going to be bringing to market, staged, ready, the drip, drip, drip of tech. So, but I think it's important to defend it and put it in a country that's friendly to TSMC's ambitions, which is to remain independent of China. So good luck, and that's it. Good luck. So let's go on to the next article. This next article is over in Technology Today. AI's breast cancer blind spots exposed by new study. AI research reveals AI in mammography may produce false positives influenced by patients' age and race, underscoring the importance of diverse training data.
Oh, is this one of these where they don't have enough diversity in the population of data, and so that when they run something, it's skewed?
Yes. Essentially. So for those of you who are watching this, the article is by the Radiological Society of North America. It's published in SciTechDaily.com. It has radiographs of breasts. So if you are sensitive to that kind of content, then look away until I say that we've gone on to the next article. And I hope that I don't get in trouble for showing this, because even though it doesn't look like anything unless somebody tells you it looks like something, or you have that mindset, whatever, somebody might call it out, either here or elsewhere. But this is science, so let's get on with it. Having looked at radiographs, mammographs before, and actually seeing this, I find it fascinating that AI can actually have a bias at this level, because you have no idea who these people are, what their race is. It only knows one thing, and that is the density of the breast. And it has no idea what the skin color is. It doesn't know what the blood type is. It doesn't know if the person has sickle cell, which is predominant in Black people. No idea. But this gave a false positive score of 96 in a near 60-year-old Black patient with scattered fibroglandular breast density. And I think it's the density that actually caused it, right?
Right, I agree. The density is a known issue in radiological imaging.
Yep. And so you have to actually look at it in different ways and try and mitigate that density. But in a mammograph, you don't have that ability, because basically the breast is squeezed uncomfortably, and then a picture is taken, and then an AI or a human looks at it. Now, this may have flagged it as having an issue, but a human has to look at it, and then they take certain steps. And if a human doesn't look at it responsibly, they may actually do a biopsy, which can leave a scar and a person who
Well,
is
there's
very
also the
sensitive.
psychological
Yes,
trauma of it if they think they have something like cancer and they don't.
right,
While a false positive, I would say, is still better than a false negative.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it can do some harm.
And the problem there, like a false positive, um, see, in a way, you're right, but I don't want to false anything. I don't want to be told that I do and I don't, because I'll get treatment. I don't want to be told that I don't and I do, because I won't get treatment. But either way, the fit's going to hit the shan in some way. I definitely don't want to be like, it's the false imprisonment thing. I don't want to have nothing and be treated like I have the end of my life on the line, right? Or a complete change in my lifestyle or whatever. The psychological damage is more profound than the physical. So at least,
Unless it's a false negative and it's aggressive or something.
right. But either way, you're basically being tortured by this. So AI has become a resource for radiologists to improve their efficiency and accuracy in reading and screening mammograms while mitigating reader burnout. Reader burnout,
I think that's the wrong message here because
right?
they've really touted like AI is supplementing, not replacing human radiology reads.
Right. What's supposed to happen is, and basically what they're saying here is they're leaning on the AI to find nothing and set those mammograms aside, which means that there could be a false negative in there. And if 100 of those, if 4,900 of those are deemed clear, and people look at the flagged ones, and there's 100 sitting in there that actually are false negatives, then something bad is about to happen. But that's not what's really happening. They actually looked through all of them, and then a human looks through all of them because they get flagged for a human inspection. I think more people, I think a human looks at every radiograph no matter what. It's just a level of intensity. A flag is thrown on the mammogram, and then they go, "Oh, okay. Let's inspect this a little bit more."
So this is interesting too because it's focused on screening mammograms, but there's two types of mammograms, screening and diagnostic.
Right.
So I wonder if the same issue presents in diagnostic.
So they look down here at the study design and demographics, which if I'm reading a paper, that's what I do. I look at the design, and then I look at demographic information. I actually look at funding source to see if there might be any implied bias from the funding source. I look at the results. I look at the abstract, but eventually I look into the nuts and bolts of this. And that's the study design and other characteristics of the paper. In a retrospective study, researchers identified patients with negative, no evidence of cancer, digital breast tomosynthesis screening examinations performed at Duke University Medical Center between 2016 and 19. All patients were followed for a 2-year period after the screening mammograms, and no patients were diagnosed with a breast malignancy. But the AI flagged some. And so the researchers randomly selected a subset of the group consisting of 4,855 patients, median age 54, broadly distributed across 4 ethnic groups. I find this stuff very, very important, folks. So I like to spend time discussing this because it is pervasive across society, not just the examination, but breast cancer and cancers all around. The subset included 1,316 white people, 1,351 black, 920. Oh, wait. It's the wrong. I think I'm the wrong way. 1,316 white, 1,261 black, 1,351 Asian, 927 Hispanic. So almost an even.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty decent distribution for the study.
Yeah, and I think when they say random, I think that it was probably weighted based on a number of things. Nobody more than 30%, kind of a thing.
Right, or they kind of like broke up a pool and then took some people or something from each pool or something.
Yeah, segments as an element of whatever the ratio is in across the country or the world or whatever. And that wouldn't be true. But anyway, so it says a commercially available AI algorithm interpreted each exam on the subset of mammograms, generating both a case score or certainty of malignancy and a risk score for a 1-year subsequent malignancy. And I'm not sure what they used. They don't name it. But
well, and I don't think they want to here, right? Because I suspect it might have actually been named if it was good results.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I want to see something. Yeah, I'll have to do some more due diligence before I talk about it. But anyway, their goal was to evaluate whether the AI performed uniformly across age, breast density types, different patient race, ethnicities. Well, I obviously have already seen that the density is at least one major player in this, um, because they show that there wasn't any reason for it, but it still flagged it as having at least some pattern. So the study is important because it highlights that any AI software purchased by a healthcare institution may not perform equally across all patient ages, races, ethnicities, and breast densities. And we know that breast density has played a major role in the detection. Um, and it says Dr. Wynn, moving forward, says that they think that AI software upgrades should focus on ensuring demographic diversity, which is natural. But if the data set doesn't have it because it doesn't exist at a prescribed level, then the accounting for it needs to be adjusted mathematically until you get that that equity, that inclusion of everybody, so that the risk score isn't assessed incorrectly or the case score isn't assessed incorrectly. But yeah, one of the cases, the person was flagged with like a 98% or a 96 or something like that. It's not a percent, it's a numerical value, but not a percentage.
Right.
Might as well just call it a percentage, though. It had a high score that they would have the malignancy within 1 year, but 2 years post, they still hadn't. Which to me, let's just say, just because it hasn't doesn't mean it
Doesn't mean
won't.
it isn't there or it won't in the next year or something.
Yeah, it just hasn't been detected
Like it's
yet.
slower growing or something.
Right, which is a blessing and a curse because it's still sitting there and you have no idea until it's detected. And mammograms are like once a year, depending on your level of risk. Sometimes they move it to 6 months because there's something anomalous, but they can't do a biopsy or whatever to confirm or deny because they're not really prone to like puncturing a mass that.
Well, and they can't unless they know the exact location. A
Right.
biopsy doesn't necessarily show anything. Now, if they have a specific area of concern, they can do it, of course.
Yeah, and if it's really tiny, they won't. It basically doesn't look like anything, so it would show up as either a false negative. Um, but yeah, it's quite interesting to actually see it, and then people are talking about it, and they go, "Yep, that's what you're looking for." So
There's one other thing that jumped out at me in this is that there's been known recognition that younger women are getting diagnosed with breast cancer. The median age is still kind of in line with where the study was, but I find it interesting that like they had problems with some of the younger patients and older patients.
yep,
I wonder if they redid this study, if they would, or for that matter, got the software, would it be focused more? Because they've moved like screening guidelines lower, earlier, etc. It's just interesting to me that like that might be one of their most at-risk populations, and that's where some of the data is really going awry, or at least appears to be.
interesting. Yeah, in their case, they say false positive case scores were significantly more likely in Black and older patients and less likely in Asian patients and younger patients compared to white patients and women between
Oh,
the ages of
I
51 and 60.
I misread that. I'm sorry. I thought that was where it was skewed. Got it. Well, then scratch that point.
Well,
But I
no, I
guess to the
mean,
bigger point is like, did they factor in
in
age in
this,
a better way? Yeah.
it may be impacted by the density, because it is consistent that when you're younger, breast tissue is denser, and as you age, um, well, sometimes it hits the floor. Anyway, let's go on to the next article. So this next article is over in Greenagram, electric recycling of Portland cement at scale. We have actually talked about this before. Um, uh, Cement at scale, by the way, is one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gases. It constantly off gases. It's one of the reasons why one of the products that I want to launch has been limited to, well, me trying to find another solution, but it's not possible. You cannot make this without using cement. So recovered cement paste can be reclinkered if used as a partial substitute for the lime dolomite flux used in steel recycling, which can reduce waste and carbon emissions. So, and the reclinkered is basically reconstituting it so that it can be used elsewhere. Cement production causes 7.5% of global anthropogenic CO2 emissions arising from limestone decarbonation. Basically, it's off gassing. That's what that means, and fossil fuel combustion, so the creation of it. Current decarbonation strategies include substituting Portland clinker with supplementary materials, but this mainly arises in emitting processes. Developing alternative binders, but none yet promises scale or adopting carbon capture and storage that still releases some emissions. However, used cement is potentially an abundant decarbonated feedstock. Potential. So they're talking about going and getting cement that's been used at like construction sites and stuff like that, that's or demolitions or whatever, and then getting that and reclinkering it so that it can be used to reuse or to recycle steel in a foundry or forge. Well, foundry. They're going to be melting it, and they use the clay and limestone, calcinated clay and limestone, along with the cement because it is the same stuff, as a way to as flux. It captures all of the impurities, becomes slag. You scrape it off the top. Sorry, it's an inside joke. And off you go. So the process is sensitive to silica content of the recovered cement paste, the silica and alumina that may come from the scrap, but this can be adjusted easily. Again, it basically grabs onto stuff and then you scrape it off and you get recycled metal in your forge. So in your
This
foundry.
is good. Anytime you can do recycling, particularly at an industrial scale, that's awesome.
Yep. And again, 7.5% of CO2 emissions, human-made CO2 emissions, is caused by concrete, and Portland cement is part of that process. So, the two main strategies deployed to date to reduce emissions from Portland cement production are fuel switching using fossil gas, municipal waste, biofuels instead of coke and pet coke, and increased use of substitution materials such as fly ash and slag. However, these strategies cannot lead to zero emissions. Moreover, the two common substitution materials, ground granulated blast furnace slag and fly ash, are themselves byproducts of the very process, steel production and coal power stations. Fly ash primarily. Slag is coming from blast furnaces for steel production, both of which are highly emitting and therefore must be phased out in the transition to zero emissions. So, in the process of saving the world, you're poisoning the world.
Well, isn't that the problem with a lot of these solutions? They actually just shift the problem somewhere else.
Yeah, and it gets offset somewhere, and so they say that there's zero, but it's really not. It's kind of like the thing that's in Iceland that's capturing carbon, and then the process of building this plant, unless this thing is absolutely masterful in its processes and capture and embedding of the CO2 into bedrock, which eventually it says it'll carbonize, it'll stay embedded in the rock, but I swear that an earthquake, volcanic material flows into the substrate where they're actually trying to bury the CO2, and all of that rock is going to off gas CO2 into
Oh, wow.
the
Yeah.
lava, and it's going to cause an eruption that is filled with gas. It's going to become an explosive eruption and not just a flow. But
By the
that's
way, that project
me.
is by Climeworks and it's called Orca.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we talked about it earlier in the show. Not this show, but in previous episode. So recovered cement paste (RCP) is not commercially available at scale at present. So they're gonna have to set up the supply lane or a supply chain to allow this recovered cement paste from um, other locations, probably around the world. It's got to be cheap. It's actually a recovery process, but it's heavy as hell, and so it's going to be very expensive to relocate, other than local dumps, because that's what happens. Construction landfill takes it on, but then it sits and it off gases forever. It literally just runs forever off gassing. So. And if you know more about this and you want to come on and talk about it, it's real easy. I can pull you into a Zoom and throw you on the screen up above us, and you can talk shop, because I would love to have subject matter experts with greater experience. Okay.
Well, we could definitely ask some highly technical questions of the guest.
Yep. And I may know some people, so we'll see. I have yet to actually kind of expose myself to, and you don't want me exposing myself on the internet. Anyway.
No, you already threatened the gold thong.
Yeah, you just wait. So yeah, Summer of Stream is going to kick off, and I'm going to be in a kid pool back here, and a gold thong. That's it.
Oh
I'll
no.
get some attention for the show. So the next article is over in Technology Today. Faster, stronger, faster, lighter, meaner, stronger, better. The new steel that's powering electric vehicles. Calculations explore how 12 metals, including titanium, form bonds with nitrogen or carbon, decarbonizing automobiles, involving transitioning from gasoline engines to electric motors, and incorporating other concepts into this. The Osaka Metropolitan University put this article together. It's over at SciTech Daily. Let's see what's going on here. To understand the interactions between elements and steel, a systematic investigation has been conducted by Osaka Metropolitan University research group led by Associate Professor Tokoturu Usugi of the Graduate School of Informatics. The group theoretically calculated 120 combinations of how 12 alloy elements, including aluminum and titanium, interact with carbon during carburization, and nitrogen in the nitriding process. So, I'm trying to figure out, based off of this, what they're actually, if they simulated it all, or if, and none of it actually exists, or if they actually made something, because this
Right.
implies,
I mean, they did a model, but
right.
yeah, it
So
looks like they've actually done it, right?
this is not a legit image. But it just says they've analyzed how alloy elements like titanium improve steel's performance by optimizing bonding processes, contributing to lighter, more durable electric motors. So maybe that's the focus of this. It's not like the body of the car, it's the componentry in the motors.
So they theoretically calculated.
Correct.
I think that's the answer.
And it almost kind of screams of AI looking at large data sets to see what could theoretically have popped out. It's kind of like the pharmaceutical analysis,
Yes.
of thousands of ... So the group theoretically calculated 120 combinations of how 12 alloy elements, including aluminum and titanium, interact with the carbon. And so if you can make something hard but still flexible and resilient to various shear forces or puncturing or whatever, heat, etc., and it's titanium and iron but still hardened, you can make a lighter motor but still has the ability to manifest all that same horsepower and torque. If it's lighter, then the battery can last longer because it's not pushing so much weight around, but the battery is still a heavy bastard.
Right, but then it'll also help with noise pollution.
And everything else associated with it, because it doesn't generate so much noise. You know, I heard that the Cybertruck makes weird noises when you accelerate.
I've heard a lot of things about the Cybertruck, but not that.
Yeah, although I've seen more of them on the side of the road than actually running on the road, but that's okay. We won't talk about that anymore. Let's go on to the next article. This is a pretty cool article if you're into it. The most fascinating thing that I've seen so far about metallurgy is that there are some types of metal that won't fuse or that you can't bond together unless you use explosives because it generates enough heat and pressure.
That doesn't seem
And
very
then,
practical.
yeah, then it sandwiches together and it's like wildly expensive, as you might imagine. There's videos online about fusing metals using explosives, and there's like a hole in the wall somewhere, and they just line it with explosives and then set it off, and you see it fuse
I
together.
mean, I'm sure no carbon or anything harmful is, released during that.
Totally green. Yeah. This next article is over in Technology Today. 7 years before diagnosis, Oxford scientists discover key to early cancer detection. Brilliant, right? We're going to solve this. 2 studies funded by Cancer Research UK and conducted by Oxford Population Health have identified blood proteins that could potentially alert individuals to the presence of cancer. Cancer Research UK, by the way, I can almost guarantee you that, again, about 10 years ago? Yeah, about 10 years ago, I said this.
Well, let's see what's here.
Let's find out. So, because one of the things that I had done was research into this, never thinking that it would play a role when I do another deeper dive later on. But basically, the idea was that, and researchers have done other research into this, and they've found it. But let's see if this is the same thing, which basically is there are markers in the blood that suppress, or not just suppress, but if a mass does form, it doesn't allow it to spread anywhere else. And so unless you stop the markers, the cancer won't go. It won't grow. It'll stay in stasis until the blood biology changes, and that causes the cancer to grow again. Now, I'm not a cancer researcher. I'm not a subject matter expert. I'm just somebody that noodles around with a lot of research papers. And I'd like to be somewhat educated. So let's find out, because they're talking about biomarkers, blood, and cancer in this article. And so they say scientists have identified 618 proteins related to 19 cancer types, detected over 7 years before cancer diagnosis. This breakthrough in proteomics may enable earlier detection and preventative treatment strategies, shifting the focus from treatment to prevention. With over 300,000 cancer cases analyzed, the research aims to develop targeted therapies that could revolutionize cancer care by focusing on the proteins that influence cancer risk and development. So there you go. These are the blood biomarkers. Now, 618 proteins. Let me check something real quick.
That seems like that's going to be challenging to screen for. So I guess that's part of the question. Like, are there commonly available blood tests that pick up these things?
How many proteins do you think are in blood plasma?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. 1,000. 618.
No.
I thought that was a good
10,500.
guess.
10,500
Oh.
are in blood plasma. 20,043 human proteins. Yeah. So they found 618, which I'll take. It says 107 proteins in individuals whose blood samples were collected at least 7 years prior to their cancer diagnosis. So in the least, they've found 107 within the 618, which is within the 20,043 of the total human protein array, I guess. So that's the That's called the proteome, by the way, the size of the human proteome. The width and depth, 1,278. Hold on. Yeah, according to the plasma proteome database, 10,500 blood plasma proteins have been detected, and less than 10%, 1,278, have been measured in a quantitative manner. So half of those that have been measured.
Wow, that's
that,
interesting.
that
I
is,
wonder if they've focused in on ones that they thought were sus.
and this is what I'm looking at is a different, it's from the NCBI, NIH.gov website. This is half of the ones that have been measured in a quantitative manner. How many others are out there that could be the fundamental marker?
Well, maybe about 5,000 of them based on at least the percentage of these. Again, they might have, for research purposes, focused on certain ones to start with.
Yeah, because
So maybe
they've
the
popped up.
percentage is higher here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, somebody's just posted a picture of an amazing meal that I want. It makes me so hungry. But anyway,
Okay,
so
I don't think that has anything to do with the proteins.
it has nothing to do with it. Well, I mean, you got to eat proteins. So the team has discovered, I don't think these proteins, though, unless you're a vampire. The team has discovered that these proteins could be involved in the very earliest stages of cancer where it could be prevented. Or they have nothing to do with it because another onset, hidden one that hasn't been quantitatively measured, but is the
Well, and
trigger.
and this could be correlated, not causal.
Yep. Yeah. But it's moving the needle. Let's find out if through their research, but see, this takes a lifetime, and cancer patients have one lifetime. So we need to find this source. We need to find this cure. And it's been this long tail because it's so personalized. Every one of them is unique. And we go in with a bulldozer and a scalpel, for crying out loud, trying to solve this. And what we really need is a microscopic needle, find that problem.
But this might be more limited than it sounds because this is across multiple cancers. So maybe, for instance, they have 10 associated with one cancer. So, I mean, maybe they could start screening for these based on this study. The worst that happens is they get, no results or whatever, and they're no worse off. It seems like that could be done kind of easily. But again, I don't know whether there's even blood tests for these.
Well, there are, because they say the researchers found 40 proteins in the blood that influence someone's risk of getting 9 different types of cancer. So, but the thing is that they're searching for the known proteins, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have a list of only 1,278.
No, they were able to, it must have been some sort of longitudinal study because they were able to determine the ones that were different during the time frame. So that, I think, has some validity.
Okay. So expert opinions and future directions. They say Dr. Karen Papier, senior nutritional epidemiologist at Oxford Population Health and joint first author of the first study, said, to save more lives from cancer, we need to better understand what happens at the earliest stages of the disease. Data from thousands of people with cancer has revealed really exciting insights into how the proteins in our blood can affect our risk of cancer. Now we need to study these proteins in depth to see which ones could reliably be used for prevention. Okay. Another in the first study, Dr. Atkins, says the genes we are born with and the proteins made from them are hugely influential in how cancer starts and grows. Thanks to the thousands of people who gave blood samples to UK Biobank, we are building a much more comprehensive picture of how genes influence cancer development over many years. And all of these people, there's additional references, but I think that it's important to move the needle. There is a massive number of people identifying therapeutic targets for cancer among 2,074 circulating proteins and risk of 9 cancers, and identifying proteomic risk factors for cancer using prospective and exome analyses of 1,463 circulating proteins and risk of 19 cancers in the UK Biobank. I think it's brilliant work. And I certainly, based on the research that I have done, which isn't fundamental research, it is like this, but less. My research is from the outside looking in. I would say that they are on the right track for finding this. But if we can see it, I suspect that we haven't detected the one that actually is causing this, because there is something that is stopping whatchamacallit?
Apoptosis?
Apoptosis, thank you. Basically the cell death. And whatever it is that's hobbling that. And they know what it is, but they don't know what it is that's causing it to stop it. Basically, there's something that's filling in the trigger mechanism for apoptosis, but they don't know what it is that's causing that mechanism to fill in. But I think that it is a protein that's causing it, and it's pervasive in the bloodstream. We just got to find the right one. So fascinating. I think it's an amazing study. So let's keep going. I'm going to be running late. We've got 3 more articles, which is about 20 more minutes, unless I hurry up. So straight out of sci-fi, NASA advances 6 pioneering space technologies for tomorrow. We're going to hurry through this. Jet Propulsion Laboratory put together this article over at scitechdaily.com.
I hope we've got the cloaking here.
Let's find out. Fluidic telescope. I think it has the ability to change its shape. So using fluidic shaping of ionic liquids, these in-space observatories could potentially help investigate NASA highest priority astrophysics targets. They actually make glasses that are fluidic that can change their focal length, so that you buy one pair of lenses and you can change the focal range. Absolutely brilliant, but they're more complex and they're structurally unstable because they actually flex. But their research solution, as far as I know, they haven't hit the market yet. Pulsed plasma rocket, fast transits for humans to Mars. Right now, our current rocket systems are too slow to get us to Mars in any observable time. I mean, not really observable.
Oh, right. Like, well,
the 5-year
people
problem.
have to still be living by the time we.
Yeah, nobody wants to sit in a rocket. Yeah, nobody wants to sit in a rocket for 5 years. And then they screw up. The Great Observatory for Long Wavelengths could change the way NASA conducts astronomy. A mega constellation of low-frequency radio telescopes uses thousands of autonomous small sats. Think Starlink, but for astronomy. Radioisotope thermoradiative cell power generator. Basically, it's like a nuclear power generator. That's what we use now. It's like a little pellet that generates heat. It becomes thermocoupled to generate power for instrumentation. Power generation concept study from Stephen Pauly at the Rochester Institute, RIT, in New York. So instead of, it says that are unable to carry bulky solar or nuclear power systems. So that's what we use now. For those that don't have the ability to build a solar array. Solar array is actually pretty prone to damage, and nuclear power systems can eventually fail. They are prone to failure because the radiation and the heat. So float is a flexible levitation on a track, a lunar railway system. This is the thing that they want to build out on the moon. The moon train.
And we did talk about that in a separate episode.
We did. It was the it's the moon version of Snowpiercer.
Right.
And then science craft for our outer planet exploration, pardon my voice, distributes quantum dot-based sensors throughout the surface of a solar sail, enabling it to become an innovative imager. So a giant camera. Quantum physics allow NASA to take scientific measurements by studying how the dots absorb light. Pretty brilliant. Massive image sensor. Okay, we got to hurry. This next article is over in Technology Today. Magnetic fingerprints. STAR detects currents in deconfined nuclear matter.
I don't know if I want deconfined nuclear matter.
Think the sun. So, U.S. Department of Energy. Um, let's see here. Collisions of heavy ions generate immensely strong magnetic field that can turn induced electromagnetic effects in the quark gluon plasma, a soup of quarks and gluons liberated from the colliding protons and neutrons. This is what's imaged in this. They're flying off. So let's see what it says here. Scientists have uncovered the first direct evidence that the powerful magnetic fields created in off-center collisions of atomic nuclei induce an electric current in deconfined nuclear matter. This is a plasma soup of quarks and gluons that have been set free, gluons, or deconfined from nuclear matter, protons and neutrons in the particle collisions. So let's see here. So off-center collisions of atomic nuclei at the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider, or RHIC, a Department of Energy particle accelerator user facility at Brookhaven National Laboratory, should generate powerful magnetic fields. That's because some of the non-colliding positively charged protons are set swirling as the nuclei sideswipe one another at close to the speed of light. The fields are expected to be stronger than those of neutron stars and much more powerful than Earth's. So I'm not sure what the actual impact of this would be. The star physicists saw a pattern of charged particle deflection that could only be caused by an electromagnetic field and current induced in the QGP. This was clear evidence that the magnetic field exists. So their study evidently resulted in a positive detection of these magnetic fields built off of this decoupling of particles. So I'm not sure. They say they'll now use the method to measure the conductivity of the QGP. That in turn may help them unravel mysteries of the phase transition between deconfined quarks and gluons and composite particles such as protons and neutrons. So they'll figure out.
I don't know about you. I have a lot of mysteries surrounding deconfined quarks.
I hate my quarks being confined, though. Yeah. So that QGP is the quark gluon plasma. That's the mass. Anyway, let's keep going. If you're all into that, go and check out that article. This next and the last one for Technology Today. I'm only hurrying through this because we're already an hour into the show. Webb telescope's breakthrough first atmospheric discovery on a rocky super-Earth, gas bubbling up from a lava-covered surface on the exoplanet 55 Cancri, I guess it is, may feed an atmosphere rich in carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. I find this amazing that the telescope has the ability to detect what's going on the surface of an exoplanet.
Yeah, this is really amazing.
And that's
I think space discoveries in the last couple of years have just been booming.
Yeah, I think it's because the aliens on the moon are working with our science. Never mind. Anyway, Carly
Maybe
Bowling.
they're disrupting the GPS too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think that's true. Carly Bowling over at University of New Mexico put the article together, and it's posted at scitechdaily.com. Located a mere 41 light years from Earth, the exoplanet 55 Cancri E is so intensely hot that scientists once doubted its ability to sustain an atmosphere. However, a recent study conducted by the national team of scientists suggests that 55 Cancri E, which I don't know why they keep saying the name, may be the first rocky planet.
Why don't they just say the exoplanet?
Yeah.
There's only one, I think, in this whole article.
Yeah. I don't quite get this, but okay, you do you. Maybe the first rocky exoplanet confirmed to have an atmosphere. Now that's kind of amazing, right? Published in Nature, the paper titled A Secondary Atmosphere on the Rocky Exoplanet 55 CNCE. It must be Cancri. E was authored by researchers from NASA's JPL, California Institute of Technology, the University of Chicago, and the University of New Mexico. I don't know why UNM is
The
in there.
California Institute of Technology.
And the NASA's, the Jet
Right.
Propulsion, the laboratory. There really isn't much more to say about this, other than the observatory was able to penetrate deep enough to observe what seems to be the hot surface and its subsequent the existence of an atmosphere that persists.
I think that's the takeaway, right? We can observe it now, and oh wow, it has an atmosphere.
Ever since its discovery, this planet has defied multiple attempts at understanding its properties and composition. This discovery is the clearest piece of information we've obtained so far for 55 Cancri E. Dragomir said. Diana Dragomir is the astronomy assistant professor from UNM Physics.
Okay, awesome name.
Yeah, Diana Dragomir.
Clearly belongs in like Harry Potter or something.
Either Harry Potter, like a science-based Harry Potter,
Lord of the Rings or something.
or like a superhero in Marvel.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just an awesome name. See, Diana is the name of Wonder Woman.
Then maybe the superhero path is correct.
Right? Hold on, let me see. Right? Yeah, Diana Prince. Diana of Themyscira. That's right. Anyway, I don't think that this is Wonder Woman, but in terms of science,
yes, it is, right?
There you go. The Wonder Woman of 55 Cancri E. If I can make that name stick and they actually dig that,
wouldn't that be neat?
That would be awesome. Otherwise, they'll hate me and they'll wish me onto that rocky atmosphere, whatever planet, 55 Cancri. Anyway, and I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly. Anyway,
watch out of that slow rocket to Mars.
Slow Rocket to Mars is my punk band name. So that's what I'm gonna do when I get voted out as mayor of ohmTown. So, speaking of the devil, I am Mayor Watt, and above me is the incapacitated sentient AI from the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Technology Today. We will be back shortly for 4-Wheel Tech, and next week we'll have another episode of Technology Today.
See you soon. Diana is throwing an asteroid at me right now.